I'm here with Jose, and we're going to talk about your film Elite Squad.
Sure.
Just tell me a little bit about what it's about.
Gee, Elite Squad is a companion piece of my previous movie called Bus 174. Bus 174 is a movie about what turns small time criminals in Rio de Janeiro and in Brazil in general uh, into very violent criminals at a very high rates. And Elite Squad is about what creates very violent uh, policemen, violent and corrupted policemen in Rio. So I guess both films address the same issue, which is urban violence in Brazil, and they both talk about the fact that it's the state itself, by mismanaging prisons and school for juvenile delinquents and mismanaging the police institution, that brings about the violence that confronts us.
And you differentiate, though, in terms of there are the regular police who tend to be more corrupt because they don't really have a choice. If they want to do their job, they need to be, it sounds like, in connection with the drug dealers. That there's not, it's just, it's a system that's already in place. And that in order to counteract that, there's the elite squad.
Um, one way to understand this is to make a metaphor. It's to there is a model that's been used for understanding social processes, which is called the theory of games, which works basically like this. If you look at a poker player and you want to understand the behavior of a poker player, you can only do if you know the context of the game, the rules of the game. Otherwise, the behavior doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at a society with the same perspective, and you can ask yourself, what are the rules of the game the cops play in Rio? And so Rio de Janeiro has a police that has 40,000 men in it. They are underpaid. They get about $500 $400 a month. They are very poorly trained, and the drug dealers, the people that they go against, are heavily armed with grenades even, and with high caliber bullets. And so society is asking of those cops, go enforce the law and run risks of dying in a
Right.
very violent neighborhood. But lo and behold, we're going to pay you $400 a month.
Right.
Right. So it's those rules make most cops uh, either leave the police or be corrupted,
Mm-hmm.
right? Get into a system, get into an agreement with the drug dealers, and it's what the movie is about. Now, to have so most cops in Brazil, in Rio, I should say, have engaged in some sort of corruption, not only with the drug dealers but other kinds of corruptions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there is a unit in Rio that was created, which is a special elite force that is supposed to be not corrupted. But in order for you to keep a unit like that in an organization that's completely corrupted, you have to feed them with an ideology that does that.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, the state feeds the Boppy cops with an idea that they are superior, that they are better than other people, that they're entitled to kill, that they can kill other cops even, in the favelas, and they believe in this. So the film doesn't really draw that difference. The difference is in the world itself. The film only shows it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's through the eyes of a Boppy cop. So that's what, in broad strokes.
What attracted you to telling this story?
In Rio, there are a lot of slums, favelas, and the favelas are in the middle of the city. They are not like in the suburbs,
Right.
right? So violence is present on everybody's life on a day-to-day basis, not only in the newspapers, but you actually see it. And so it's pretty much a very important subject for us. It's like if you live in Palestine, violence is a very important subject for you,
Right.
and so in Brazil, we think about violence, and there's this idea that violence is directly connected to misery. So the idea is, if you have a lot of misery, therefore you're going to have a lot of violence because you have a lot of people needing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea is basically false. If you look at the data, for instance, if you look at other cities, say at Lima in Peru, at Bombay in India, you have much more misery than in Rio, and a much lower violence level. So there is something in Rio that operates, that's breeding this violence, that's transforming misery into violence at high rates.
So
Uh,
maybe you need some Hinduism.
yeah, well, you don't have that in Lima, and the violence is lower. I mean, it's not religion; it doesn't explain it if you look at the data, and and um, and so I ask myself, and many people ask, what is it that we have that's doing this to us, and I've made two movies about that, as I said, Bus 174 and Elite Squad, and they both give the same answer from different perspectives, and the basic answer is the state itself is doing it by
Mm-hmm.
mismanaging its institutions.